A Mochi Moment from Sadie, who writes, I'm not crying, you're crying. This is what I said during my first appointment with my physician at Mochi, because I didn't have to convince him I needed a GLP-1. He understood, and I felt supported, not judged. I came for the weight loss and stayed for the empathy. Thanks, Sadie. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi Moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Sadie is a Mochi member compensated for her story.
A Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 87.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curren and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought, bend over and take a boot to the keister. Warning, listeners may notice a force equal to or greater than needed to get your ass moving. A swift kick in the ass, living life on your terms.
Welcome, I'm Tom Stewart, and I'm joined with my lifelong childhood friend, John Curren. And today's episode is Failed to Plan, Plan to Fail. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Tom. How's it going, man?
Good.
Did you you survived the hurricane, right? You didn't get blown away?
I survived Hurricane Irma, and we've been gone for a little while, and part of it was because the damage and so forth and the lack of electricity that I had because of Hurricane Andrew. I live in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and Hurricane Irma, if you're not aware, was a Category 5 hurricane. Now, Category 5 is as strong as they get. This was a monster hurricane. And it was slated to hit us as a 5. Luckily, it veered at the last minute, and it still hit us, but we didn't get hit as bad as we could have. And hurricanes, if you don't know anything about them, they have the stronger you get to the closer you get to the center of the eye, which is the center of the hurricane, the stronger the hurricane force winds are. And also on the east side of the storm is the strongest, dirtiest side, they call us. We did get hit by that, but we weren't close enough to the eye wall to get those Category 5 winds. Unfortunately, the Florida Keys did get hit by a lot of those winds, and it did tremendous damage down there. They're still, months after the storm, are still trying to get themselves back together. So I was, for my work, I work in television and radio, and we were I was from the Hurricane Center, and we were doing what they call a Spanish pool. It was all the stations that take a Spanish feed. We would supply the feed for them. So it was me, a cameraman, and a producer. So we stayed there for the duration of the storm. And when it was first coming, I think it was Thursday night, it was projected to hit us like starting Friday or Saturdays. So Thursday night, the projected path of Hurricane Irma was right through South Florida, through like Miami-Dade, Broward, and, the Palm Beaches, which is a heavily populated metropolitan area. They said it would have been the biggest natural disaster that we've had in the last 100 years. And like I was talking to one of the Hurricane Center guys, and he said he flew his family to Iowa. That's how scared he was. And it made me scared because I was like, I don't think my house could withstand it with a Category 5. Luckily, by Saturday, we knew that it was veering off. So I rode out the storm in the Hurricane Center, separated from my family, which was pretty scary. And even at the Hurricane Center, there was I parked my truck and there was light poles, and one of the veteran cameramen said, you might want to move your truck. So I moved it, and I was like, that light pole's not going to fall. This is the Hurricane Center. Well, they did. And it fell. One of them fell right on top of some girl's SUV. We could see it we had security cameras. They could see the parking lot, and right on top of it. So, John, that's what brought up this episode is really about preparation, and it's something that I saw during getting prepared for the storm, of how lack of preparation was affecting South Florida and making it almost into a panic situation. We had lines for gas. I waited like 2 hours just to fill up my tank. And it wasn't even that. It was like, people were trying to get gas for their generators, so people would get in line and they'd have like 25-gallon containers.
Right.
At one time, we had a hurricane down here, and the storm had knocked out power to all the gas stations, so even though they had fuel, they couldn't pump it out of the ground. This time, we actually had no fuel. I mean, so many people, because the news is telling you, get flashlights, batteries, water, and gas, top off your car. So everyone goes, and it was impossible.
Yeah, that's just, that is just crazy. So hurricanes are something that we can we track, we monitor, the red flags get raised when they come on the radar. But like you said, the lack of preparation is what really hurts you. And I'm a Florida native. That's where I was born and raised. And I have to say, in all the years that I lived in South Florida, I actually never went through a hurricane. I went through plenty of scares, but more times often than not, it's just a scare. And I think that probably contributes to the lack of preparation, because of, how many times you have to go through it. It's like the little boy that cried wolf. You just take it for granted, and you think, oh, it's just going to pass. It's never going to hit. And like you said, it grazed you, and there was still a lot of damage. You were very lucky.
Right. And everyone was freaked out because we had a hurricane 20 years ago named Andrew. Andrew devastated southern Florida, especially south of us, Homestead. I mean, destroyed an Air Force base.
Wiped it clean, right?
Yeah. I mean, it just shut down towns. And so everyone was like, when they said that this one is going to be like Andrew, but magnifying, because Andrew was a small, tight, compact, powerful storm. This was a massive storm that would cover the entire peninsula. And it was like the perfect storm. It was as strong as they come.
Yeah.
And the city went crazy. Even, I have shutters on my house, and some of my shutters I need to put butterfly screws on. And I thought, I have a bag set aside for all this. Well, a month before this storm hits, my damn dog got a hold of it. He's only like a year old, so he's still in puppy stage. And he got a hold of that bag, and he went around the backyard flipping it around, and little butterflies, wing nuts flying all over the place. So I thought I found them all. I collected them all in the dirt. And so when I was putting up shutters, I was like starting to do the math, and I was like, I'm going to be very close to not having enough to seal up my house. So I went to the local Home Depot, and of course they were already sold out, but I was like, well, maybe I can just get some nuts. Not even nuts. It was panic. Everyone had stripped apart the Home Depots. And I mean, I went to a lot of them, and Walmarts. It was insane. People were waiting, and water. No one had water. There was people waiting in line, like wrapped around the building, to get one case of water from Walmart. That's how bad it was.
Well, right now what you're talking about is, addressing a need that you have, when you're in the thick of things. And this episode is really about prevention and preparation for these type of things, whether it's a hurricane headed your way, or maybe it's just a financial disaster, just waiting to happen. Maybe your credit is just so out of whack, because you have maxed out all your credit cards. How you prepare and how you address these different situations really does matter. It matters that you spend the time to prepare. Like, Tom said, you got all your nuts, you gather all your nuts, and then what happens? Your puppy plays with them, and they go flying across the yard. There are things that you can't account for. And I know in the military they say that even with the best planning, sometimes you don't know what you're going to face until you hit the landing zone. So you have to be prepared. That's part of preparation. Preparation is looking ahead and kind of trying to be proactively addressing your needs. Like Tommy said, he knew he's going to need the nuts. He gathered them a month ahead of time. hurricane season is something you take kind of serious in Florida. It's going to happen. So you prepare for that. You set it aside, but then something happens and you don't have everything yet you need. So what do? You scramble. And good preparation should minimize the need to scramble, right?
John, you mentioned the military, and when I was in the Air Force, we had something called a checklist that we carried around with us. It was like a flight checklist, and we always had to maintain it and keep it with us. And it was a step-by-step procedure of how to do our jobs, and also in emergency situations, how to respond. Now you're thinking, I should know my job, but the problem is when you're under stress, sometimes you forget the steps,
right,
and you get overwhelmed. And so it would tell you step by step, or say, skip here if this happens, whatever. And that's why they do it. They've researched this, and that's what gets, the airmen through emergencies. Well, the same thing happens with personal change. You set a goal and you're on track with that goal, and then something hits you, everything goes sideways and something comes up. And this kind of happened, I've talked about how I was on this show, how I had a goal for my 50th birthday to be in the best shape of my life. So I started doing stairs, 5 flights of stairs 20 times a day, and I did it daily. And I was on track. I was doing really well for 6 months. And then, things were sideways. I went on vacation, and I was like, I got a little lax. I was like, okay, I can eat, something different. I've been training every day. I deserve this. Well, what happens is that starts to snowball, and I get off track. And before you know it, the 13 pounds or whatever I had lost, I've gained it all back. And I didn't have a plan where I could, all of a sudden look at it and say, hey, when this happens, go to plan B, or start eating this way, or check my diet here, or take, daily measurements to make sure that I'm meeting my goal. So before I know it, caught up on me, and now I'm trying to get that weight off again. Still training, but, because my diet had gone to crap, I failed. I failed to reach my objective.
Yeah, so it fell off your radar.
Right.
And and that does happen. And it's really easy to do. I think about back when I was in debt, and the biggest problem with that, wasn't that I was going out and being crazy. I was just and my wife and I were just doing everyday normal things like fixing up our house. But the biggest contributor to that problem, was our lack of attention to our surroundings and kind of keeping track of what we were spending, what was going out as compared to what was coming in. Once we started to recognize where we stood and kind of got bearing, just by listing out our expenses, that made all the difference in the world for us, because it opened our eyes. It came on our radar, and so things in our life, are going to continue to happen around us. We have no control really over that at all. We have no control over the outside world, but we do have control over what we do and what we look at, what we pay attention to, and what we focus on. So, bringing that, being aware of a problem is probably the first step of actually, taking steps to address that problem. If it's not on your radar, you're not going to do a damn thing about it. It's not important to you. So, I think therein lies the art of creating positive change in your life is, how do you recognize something as important if it's not on your radar?
Right. And we don't want to halt someone, because sometimes people can get wrapped up in the preparation plan,
right,
where they never take action. We definitely advise taking action right away. So, if you're doing something, say, in my case, I was doing the stairs, rather than me making a whole plan before I ever do it, I start doing it. And as I go along, I can start fine tuning and know that I have to make up contingency plans and a diet and everything else that goes with it. But by doing it daily and actually getting moving, That's the biggest hurdle. And once you get started, you gain momentum. But to keep that
Yeah.
momentum, that's where the preparation and the things that you do on the side actually come in and keep you on track.
Too, I think part of the preparation too is understanding that people do kind of fall off track. Like you said, and it's natural when you go on vacation to kind of let things slide, to kind of maybe not pay close attention to your diet like you usually do, or not get that exercise in that you do under normal circumstances. I can remember back when I had quit smoking cigarettes for like 5 years. Okay. And I went on a road trip by myself, just traveled across the country in the car. And I'm driving along and by myself and I'm bored. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'd really like a cigarette right now. And I kind of talked myself into it. I was like, you know what? I smoked before. I quit. No big deal. I'll just go on vacation and have a couple cigarettes and, enjoy myself, and I'll quit after vacation. Yeah. Doesn't happen.
It doesn't work
Doesn't
that
happen.
way. No, because I've done the same thing with, I remember I went to California to compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament. So I had dropped down and I was the leanest I had been in years. And same thing, I wasn't eating carbs mainly. But after the competition, I was like, all right, we're going to go get a hamburger. And usually I used to take the bread off. And I was like, you know what? I deserve it. I can eat it. And then I kept on eating when I got home. I was like, you know what? I'm not gaining any weight. I think my metabolism is down low enough where I'm actually, kind of, I feel like I keep on losing weight. But that didn't last long because I kept on eating that way. And before you knew it, 30 pounds creeps on.
Yeah.
I'm like, my God, where'd that come from?
You can justify anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like you said, I deserve it. I mean, we can justify the change in the behavior in the, very easily, I think. And we can prepare, like I said, I was prepared. Oh yeah, I'm going to take this little break and then I'll get right back on it, and things change. So that's part of, I think even when you do prepare, things can slip and maybe not turn out the way that you think they are. So it is constant, reevaluation, kind of looking at things, taking a step back, proceeding, looking at it again, maybe changing course. It's, I think there are so many things out in this world that are distracting, and many things that we can do with our lives, many actions we can take, but are we really stopping and thinking about those particular actions and how they contribute to what we're trying to accomplish? As if you're a listener to the show, my father died about 5 years ago. And even before he died, he knew death was coming, and he started kind of handing things off to me, even when he was sick. And I would bring these things home. And some things had value, or I thought, or maybe I could use them, or maybe I thought I could cash them in. Regardless of why I took on this stuff. And it got to such a point to where I was like filling up my shed. I didn't even know what I had. It was so bad. It was so bad. I had to build a detached garage in order to hold all this stuff, and my dad's been gone almost 5 years now, and I've done a lot with the stuff. I've organized it. I've, gathered it. But I've started to realize recently that I've reached a point now to where I need to get going on some of these things that I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to, I have a project boat that I've been working on. And I realized that the fact that project boat is not working is a big part of my problem. It does contribute greatly to the clutter that I have in my garage because I have all these boat parts and I'm not sure if I really need them or not. So I've been focused on like cleaning up the garage, but not necessarily with purpose. Now that I've shifted my gears and I'm putting my effort into getting my boat ready for the water. I find that I'm naturally decluttering my garage, because as I go through and start gathering these parts, start preparing to get that boat to get into the water, I recognize that, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need that. I'm throwing things away left and right. I'm getting better organized. And that's a byproduct of, of a different goal, really. So the goal of getting organized is more like a side goal at this point. You know, it's not the primary objective. Primary objective is getting that damn boat in the water and ending this 20-year-old project that I've had so my kids can start enjoying it. And I realize it's really a linchpin goal for me, you know, create and reaching that goal, getting that boat in the water solves so many of my other problems. But if I didn't take a step back, I'd still be trying to like sweep out my garage and thinking that that's going to make me feel good about my life.
You would be you would be overwhelmed, and that rides on you and keeps you from being who you truly are.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and what I've noticed, and this is so amazing, is that this stuff that we accumulate in our lives, it does have a psychological burden to it. So when you throw things away, it's actually you feel lighter.
Right.
You can.
Yep. That's why there's a big movement for minimalism, where people are just, if you haven't used it in 6 months, they get rid of it. Now I can understand, especially when you're in a house and a garage like that. Sometimes you don't use your leaf blower within that 6 month period because it's winter and you have to hold on to it for that reason. But other times we keep on holding on to things, as you say.
Yeah.
And we become hoarders, or it just becomes where you don't even use it. Like my mom has a shed out front and it's so full of stuff that we can't use it. And it's a combination of her stuff and my stuff. And we need to go through and purge, because therefore it becomes a useless space.
Yeah. Go back to the power equipment for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Florida, you have one big season. You know, it's summer all year long. But, you know, where I live in Virginia, we have the 4 seasons, and our power equipment has to sit for several months, you know, at a time. And what I've learned, and this really does tie into the preparation of it all, is that if I don't prepare to have that power equipment sit, I'm going to be creating a lot more problems for myself. Because if you let gas sit in a piece of power equipment, it's just going to evaporate, and it's actually going to gum up the carburetor, and it's not going to start the next time that you try to start it. It's going to cause you a lot of problems. So I've learned, you know, just that when I use the equipment, I just let it power out, you know, with the gas. I empty it, and then I just run out all the gas until it's totally empty, and I never ever have problems.
You know, talking about hurricanes, one of the things that I was not prepared for is generator. I have 2 generators, but I haven't run them in about 10 years. And the same thing, I left gas in it, and it goes stale, and you'll never get it started. Luckily, I was able to buy a generator within 2 days before the storm, you know, because I saw the storm was out there. And I got a new one, but I'm like, I'm not going to let this happen. So I made sure to put stabilizer in it. And I pumped out all the gas, and then I ran whatever gas I couldn't get out. I ran the generator until it just burned out. But that's in the preparation of knowing I've failed twice before. And that's like a $500 or $600 failure each generator.
Yeah. So, you know, I think in regards to preparation, you know, we try to look at our circumstance, and in the face of a hurricane, you probably have a laundry list of things that you need to do. And as you get more experienced with that situation, I mean, hurricanes, there's a season every year that you face the likeliness, you know, where the likeliness of a hurricane increases. So you have a laundry list based on your experience going through that each and every time. And hopefully you're refining that list, whether it's written down or it's just in your head. You know what to do a little bit more each and every time you go through that. But what about these things in life that you don't really know all that much about? You know, you might have a laundry list, but it's not necessarily based on experience. It's based on your research, or maybe it's just something you pulled off the internet. You don't know much about it. That is really, I think, the start of all preparation. Whether you're experienced or not, you have to start somewhere. And we all learn from each other, and we can all learn how to prepare for life's situations, whether it's the hurricane, or it's going to, going to college, or it's having a new baby, or it's buying a house or buying a car. All these things that happen in life, when they're new, they can be very scary. It can be overwhelming. And what it takes preparation. It takes learning. It takes applying thought to whatever you're up against. Sometimes you're going to hit it. Sometimes you're not.
And knowing is not enough, John. You have to take action.
Right.
And that's so in South Florida, every beginning of every hurricane season, we always have the news comes on and gives the specials on. Okay, it's hurricane season. Get your batteries, get your water, get your generator, get your gas, get all your stuff prepared, right? They talk about it endlessly. No one does it. They don't do it till the situation that we just had when we have a storm that's going to give us a swift kick in the ass. And that's what that's why we always talk about this, is sometimes it takes that swift kick in the ass to implement change. But if you can get ahead of it, if I could have prepared ahead of time rather than scrambling, and as Jen says, I go in Rick Grimes mode from The Walking Dead, trying to protect my family, because that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to protect my family when I'm sealing up my windows and getting gas and making sure that we have ice and things, fresh water to drink afterwards.
Food.
And food. So, I mean, it really is, it gives you a shot of adrenaline, but lots of times when you don't have that shot of adrenaline, it's hard to get moving. But now is the time. We're like, me and John right now are like the newscasters telling you, prepare for hurricane season, because it's coming. It's not a matter of if it comes, it's when it comes. And it's the same thing in life and change.
Yeah, I remember back before the Great Recession, my father was a product of the Great Depression. And so when he was growing up, there were people knocking on his family's door, asking for food. I mean, they would work for food. They would do anything for a sandwich, because times were difficult. Times were very, very hard. And when the Great Recession came, I remember my dad saying how he thought that it was actually a good thing that the economy had gone south. And the reason why he thought that is because when life is good, it's really easy to just enjoy that moment, enjoy life being good, and put aside the thought that good times end. Life is not just good times. It's not like, let the good times roll. We want them to continue. But the fact is that life is ups and downs. It's a combination of good and bad. And really, our success at life is dependent on how we address these changes in life, how we adapt to the challenges that come before us. And what we get out of life really depends on the preparation that we're putting into it, and addressing our situations and trying to make the most out of it, whether you're protecting your family from hurricanes, or you're getting out of a bad financial mess, or maybe you're just trying to create financial security within your own family. Maybe you don't have the pressure of creditors calling your house, but you have some bills that if you don't take care of and you don't watch, can quickly get out of hand. This is it, being aware, being in it's being more than just in survival mode. It's placing yourself in a position so you can thrive no matter what the circumstance.
What's funny, John, is right before the hurricane, there was no lines at the Apple store. There was no hard to get items other than the essentials that you needed to survive and live.
Right.
And it really puts you in perspective, all that other stuff, all the things that, that we consume ourselves with every day are really not important.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And talking about important, I think a lot of people get overwhelmed, or they lose a sense of what's important in life because of everything that's going on around them. Like you said, the Apple Store and the latest technology, the latest movie that's out, the latest scandal, everything. There's a lot of opportunity to consume our time with these things that really don't add up to anything in our own life. So that choice is really, yours, is what you pay attention to. It really is up to you. And we hope that, you take this time to prepare for yourself and what you see as being important. I think there's a very quick exercise that you can do to determine what's important to you. Think about yourself going through a life-threatening situation, such as a hurricane, where your life or the life of your family is in danger. And take it a step further. You don't make it through that danger. You don't make it through. And there's a funeral for you. What do you want said about you at your funeral? What do you want when you die? What do you want said about you and about who you were as a person? That's going to, most people aren't going to talk about how they had a big house and an expensive car and they dressed in nice clothes. They're going to talk about you as a person, that you were a good friend, that you're loyal, that you were a provider for your family, and that you protected your family from harm. Yeah, poor dad, was outside putting the shutters on his house for the hurricane, and the palm tree fell on him.
It happens. It happens every year. You see people in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, I'm joking, but it really shouldn't be made light of. It's dangerous. Hurricanes are very dangerous, and life is dangerous, and life can be taken from us. So, before you get put in that situation, because we all do get put in those situations, make sure you know what's important to you. Your family, your health. And that's going to help guide your actions and help you prepare for the things in life that you feel are important.
And John, the people out there need to know that we are not experts in personal change. We're going along our journey and telling them what works for us and what we found has not worked for us. And I kind of question some of the experts that are out there, because some systems, because I study a lot of experts, as you do. And sometimes I see systems that are just like overwhelming, and it's just ploys in order to make money to get you to join some kind of group or, sign up for something where you're going to send your money to them. And they create extra steps that you don't need to take personal change. We're trying to distill it down to the core that you need in order to get started. Yeah.
You make a good point. We are all, oh my goodness, what's happening in here?
Hurricane's coming.
Say this is an important message. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay.
John, let me tell you something real quick. That's the EAS message at my work. We're one of the people that generate or relay those. And we have a unit that all TV and radio stations have that generate those. Well, somewhere the government had these same units at their government stations, and they posted the manual online. Well, within the manual is the username and password to get into the unit, the default one. You're supposed to change it, but what happens is a lot of stations don't change it. These kids got a hold of that username and password, and they hacked into I think it was in Arizona, it's like several TV stations and radio stations, and they ran a broadcast saying that zombies were coming up out of the ground and the dead were walking. And aired
April
everywhere.
Fools.
You can
That
find
sounds
it
like
online
something we
if you
would have
search
done.
it. Yeah, if you search it on YouTube, you can find it, but it's hilarious.
That's funny. Yeah. Anyhow, we aren't. We're all we're all winging it in some way or another. We're not fortune tellers. We don't know what the future holds. None of us does. All of us. All we can do is take action in the here and now, and try to do a better job. What worked for us, what has worked for us, may or may not work from you, but we do feel that we can all learn from each other, and that's why we have this show. It is the swift kicks in our ass often that are the toughest, because they hurt, and we learn from them, and that is the point of all this, is that we learn and that we keep going and we keep trying to do better. You are the expert at your own life. We're not going to tell you what to do and what not to do. That's your own decision. We can't tell you what's important to you. That's your decision. But we're here along with you on this journey, because we're taking the same journey. And we hope that this episode, will help you prepare for a brighter future and for getting traction in creating positive change in your life.
Well said, John. And what I would say is the first place that you could go is to a swiftkickinass.com and sign up for our free membership site. There you'll find a couple tools that will help you on your way. John's simple spending tool that you've created helped him get 150 grand out of debt. Is that right?
240,000.
240 out of debt. My God, man. And also the membership site has some cool, how to take action guides and get started. So it's free. Just enter your email, and there you go. John has zombies coming up out of the ground. I fear for you, man. Fear for your safety.
Prepare.
See?
That's a perfect way to end this. Prepare. You never know when an emergency's coming. I guess I got to go and take cover.
Duck and cover. See you later, my friends. Peace.
Till the next time. Peace.